The desert night was colder than usual, thin winds crawling over the broken mesas like restless ghosts, carrying with them a silence so tense it felt as if the land itself was holding its breath, for something wrong had happened, terribly wrong, something that cracked the fragile balance between the Apache tribe of the Red Valley and the scattered white settlements miles away, something that would soon summon a storm no one could outrun. For when three drunken, reckless bandits dragged a bound Apache woman out of the canyon, laughing as if they'd stolen nothing more than a horse, they did not realize they had touched the one line even the bravest refused to cross. They had taken the granddaughter of Nantan Lobo, the tribe's sacred healer, the woman whose voice could calm a raging warrior and whose hands had cured wounds thought impossible. The woman whose spirit the Apaches believed was blessed by the Dawn Mother herself. And when news reached her family that she had been taken, a wail rose into the night so mournful that animals scattered, and fires flickered, low as though bowing their heads in grief. But grief was only the beginning, for vengeance was on its way. Yet not from the tribe, not yet. For the first to hear of the crime was a man not born of the canyon, but shaped by it. A man whose name drifted through taverns like smoke and fear. A gunslinger of such cold precision that whole gangs fled at the mere rumor of his arrival. A man who once vanished into the desert after losing everything he had ever loved, swearing never again to pick up his iron unless the earth itself called him to justice. And on this silent night, as the moon bled pale light over the dry ground, that call finally came. His name was Cole Mallory, known to outlaws as the Dawn Reaper, and while he had not spoken to another soul in weeks, while he had chosen to bury his guns deep beneath the sand, their weight still haunted his hands, the ghosts of past battles whispering in his ears. Yet when he saw the Apache woman's horse return without her, its chest heaving, its eyes wild with panic, dragging a broken rope, Cole felt something inside him ignite, something he thought dead, for she was no stranger to him. Years ago, she had tended to a bullet wound in his shoulder, when no one else would even offer him water, saving his life without asking a single question, treating him not as a feared gunslinger, but as a lost man. And he had never forgotten the kindness of her quiet brown eyes now taken by men too stupid to realize whom they had crossed. And before the stars shifted in the sky, Cole had already saddled his weather-beaten bay horse, strapped on the very guns he had sworn he'd never touch again, and carved a path toward the tracks left by the kidnappers, each hoofbeat of his horse echoing like a countdown to their doom, because he knew these men, Mason Greeley and his brothers, outlaws, who shot first, spoke little, and believed that Apaches were trophies, not people, and Cole had hunted their kind before. He knew exactly how they moved, how they thought, how they always believed they had more time than they actually did. But tonight time was not theirs. It belonged to the Reaper riding behind them, his coat flapping like a torn shadow, his jaw clenched with old anger, rising like smoke from coals. And though he had no badge, no orders, no witnesses, the desert itself recognized his purpose, guiding his horse through narrow ravines, across dry riverbeds, past sharp rocks gleaming under moonlight, until he spotted their campfire flickering weakly on the horizon. Three silhouettes moving lazily around it, unaware their minutes were numbered. As Cole dismounted, dust settling around him like falling ash, he could hear the woman's muffled cries, tied beside a wagon, her face bruised, her spirit trembling but unbroken. And he felt a deep surge of rage, a quiet, deadly kind, that tightened every muscle in his body. For he realized he wasn't here just to save her. He was here to unleash years of silence, grief, and buried fury upon the only target that deserved it. He walked toward the camp, each step slow, deliberate, the moon glinting off the steel at his hip, and as the wind shifted, carrying the faint crackle of the fire and the drunken laughter of the bandits, Cole Mallory whispered into the night, "You boys stole the wrong woman," his voice low as thunder, and in that moment the desert seemed to whisper back, as if the spirits themselves leaned forward to watch. Because by sunrise the sands would be soaked with a truth carved in gunfire, that the Reaper had returned, and justice in the Red Valley was no longer asleep. And as Cole reached the fence of old wooden posts marking the edge of the abandoned ranch where the bandits camped, he rested his hand on the splintered rail, steadying himself as he inhaled the cold night air, preparing to step into the firelight and show the world why some legends never died. They only waited. The first sliver of dawn crept over the horizon, like a blade of fire slicing through the cold night, revealing a scene so still it seemed carved into the earth itself. 3 outlaws sprawled in the dust, their guns kicked far from their twitching fingers, their pride bleeding into the soil, and Cole Mallory standing over them with the calm of a man who had made peace with violence long ago, though he had hoped he would never be forced to awaken it again. The Apache woman, though shaken and bruised, rose slowly from where she had been tied, her eyes meeting his with a mixture of gratitude and sorrow, understanding fully that the man who saved her had paid a price for every shot fired. Yet before she could speak, a low rumble rolled across the valley, hooves, dozens of them, an entire Apache war party pouring into the canyon like a flood, their painted faces fierce under the newborn sun, their spears gleaming, their horses snorting clouds of cold breath. And at their head rode Nantan Lobo himself, his expression thunderous, his rage burning bright enough to crack stone. For he had come to reclaim his granddaughter and punish anyone who dared touch her. When he saw Cole standing protectively before her, hands free of weapons, refusing to step aside even before an army, the chief's fury briefly faltered, replaced by confusion. For few men would stand calmly before the blades of enraged warriors. Yet Cole simply nodded toward the trembling outlaws on the ground and said, in a voice steady as the desert wind, "They're yours. I just came to bring her back." For a long moment, the valley held its breath again, the Apaches tense, their horses shifting beneath them, until the chief dismounted and walked to his granddaughter, touching her face gently, blessing her survival before turning to the gunslinger. Though Cole expected nothing, no reward, no thanks, Nantan Lobo raised his hand, signaling his warriors to lower their weapons, a gesture rarely given to any outsider, let alone a white man. And in that single gesture, the desert seemed to exhale, the rising sun bathing Cole in gold as if honoring him. But before he could slip away as quietly as he had arrived, the chief spoke, his voice deep with respect. "A man who protects our blood is part of our story. The valley remembers." Cole, uncomfortable with praise, simply tipped his hat, hoping to vanish into the dunes once more. But the chief stepped closer, offering him a carved talisman of the Dawn Mother, a blessing signifying courage and truth, something given only to those the tribe considered guardians of balance. Cole hesitated, the memory of past sins flickering through him like shadows across stone. Yet the woman he had saved whispered softly, "Take it. You earned it." And so he did, feeling a strange warmth settle in his chest as he mounted his horse. And as he rode away, the Apaches watched in silence, not as enemies or skeptics, but as witnesses to a legend reborn. For by sunrise, the story had already begun to spread from canyon to canyon. A legendary gunslinger stood at the fence before the dawn and delivered justice faster than the sun itself. And though Cole Mallory had no interest in fame or fear, the desert knew his name once again, carrying it far beyond the mesas, whispering it through towns that would one day tell this night as a warning. Don't touch the Apache people unless you wish to face the Reaper before morning. And if you enjoyed this story, its intensity, its mystery, its heart, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because more powerful Western legends, tribal tales, and cinematic storytelling are coming your way, and you won't want to miss a single one.